guys, thank you for clicking on this video. My name is Cassidy. So I found this look that I have on right now. It's a full face of makeup. It's a nudie with a little bit of orangey peach tones to it. So if you want to see how I got this, keep watching and you guys will see that. And if you like this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing to my channel for more makeup videos. So thank you guys.
Fuck that work, Mario.
Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do today is prime my face. So I am going to be using this primer, which is Primed and Poreless by Too Faced. And I'm going to apply this with my hands. I'll show you guys the texture of this. So it's kind of like moussey. It's not like a moisturizing primer. This is to fill in pores and make all of your skin and your texture very even. And I actually don't love the texture of this. For my makeup today, I need to use this type of primer. And so I'm not using a brush to apply this. I'm using my fingers because I feel like it doesn't really absorb in the brush very well, so my fingers work best. Alright you guys, so the foundation that I'm using is a stick foundation by the brand Revolution. I have mine in the shade F5, and then to apply the foundation I'm using a brush from Morphe. That is the Y6 brush. So there's my daughter. She was playing in her playpen while I was getting ready and doing my makeup, as well as her dad, my boyfriend, was also getting ready. So she was just hanging out in there while we got ready. So I'm just blending out my foundation. The brush that I'm using is currently my favorite brush to use for foundation, and it has been for a while. I definitely recommend it. It's pretty inexpensive compared to other foundation brushes, and it really just makes putting on your foundation so simple and easy. So I definitely recommend it, especially if you are new to foundation or new to applying foundation with a brush. I would say it's really good. Or for someone who has been doing foundation with a brush for a long time, I still recommend that because I have and I really love it. So now I am applying concealer. The concealer that I'm using is from the brand Koki. I got this concealer in an Ipsy bag and I actually really like it. So again, it is from the brand Koki and it is Be Bright Illuminating Concealer, and mine is in the shade Light. I had my daughter come say hi. her dad took her out of the playpen because she was ready to get out and he was done getting ready, so he took her out and she was playing. So I applied the concealer onto my forehead, my nose, upper lip, and chin. On those areas, I only applied a little bit, and then under my eyes, I applied more, and I also did 2 layers because under my eyes, I wanted to add that extra brightness. The sponge that I'm using is a smaller sponge, and it is from Real Techniques. I'm going to set my concealer, so I'm using a powder. It is from the brand Revolution. It is a luxury baking powder, and it is in the shade Banana. I'm going to take a sponge, a bigger sponge this time, and use that to set the powder. So I'm going to let the powder sit and bake for a little bit. And while it does that, we're going to move on to the eyes. So I started off with my eyebrows. I used a eyebrow pencil that was double-sided from ColourPop to give them a brush through and fill them in. So for the eyes, I'm going to start off by using an eyeshadow brush from Morphe, and I'm going to be using a eyeshadow palette from Kylie Cosmetics, and I'm going to be using the color Beach and applying that in my crease. So after I've blended that out, I'm going to use the same brush and move on to a second eyeshadow palette. I'm going to be using an eyeshadow palette from Morphe, the 3502, and the shade I'm going to be using is Contour. I'm going to apply that right over the first eyeshadow and put that in the crease. I'm now going to move on to a different eyeshadow brush, and I'm going to use that and put no eyeshadow on it. It's a clean brush, and I'm going to use that to blend out the 2 eyeshadows and really mix those and combine those together. The brush that I'm using is by the brand Farah. I believe that's how you say it. I'm sorry if I'm wrong. I really love that brush and I got it in an Ipsy bag. So now I'm going to move on to the lower lash line. I'm going to take both of those colors and do the same thing under my eyes on the lower lash line. I'm going to use 2 brushes by Morphe. I'm going to first use a smaller, more defined brush to apply the eyeshadow, and then I'm going to take a second brush that is clean and use that to blend the eyeshadow out, the same as I did on my upper eyes. I'm now going to use that same smaller defined brush and I'm going to use a third eyeshadow. This one is also from the Morphe 3502 palette, and this one is Ablaze. And I'm going to take a little bit of that, add that to the lower lash line. I'm now going back to the upper eyes, and I'm also going to take a blaze and add that to my crease on my upper eyes. And then I'm going to take the brush from Farah and use that to blend it out as well. There's a lot of mixing and blending out going on here. Alright, so we're going to move on from the eyes, and I'm going to grab a kabuki brush from e.l.f. and I'm going to remove that powder that has been sitting there baking. And also what I'm doing is when I'm removing that powder is getting on the brush a little bit. And so I'm just going to take it and run it all over my face, and that way my face that I did not bake will have a little bit of powder to set the foundation. I don't want to take a powder and put it on the rest of my face at all because I want to keep this a little bit of a light look, a little bit of a dewy look. And so I just wanted to use a little bit of powder on my face too. I'm now going to take a bronzer, and the bronzer I'm using is from Too Faced. It is the Chocolate Soleil, and I'm using a brush from Sonia Kashuk, and I'm going to be applying that, and then I'm going to be using a brush from Ulta. That is a clean brush, and using that to blend out the bronzer so it isn't so harsh. I'm also going to be using that powder to contour my nose a little bit. I'm going to be using a different brush because I will need something smaller for my nose. So I'm taking a eyeshadow brush from Morphe, and I'm just going to use that to help contour my nose. So now I'm going to use a setting spray, and I'm using the Urban Decay All Night Setting Spray. I'm going to be using a liquid highlighter, and the one I am using is from Cover FX, and it is in the shade Celestial. I'm going to be putting that on my cheeks, a pretty generous amount, and I first decided to use a sponge, and that sponge is from Real Techniques. So I decided that did not work very well, and the second go around I decided to use my fingers, and that seemed to work a lot better. When I was using the sponge, it seemed to be taking off my foundation, and we definitely don't want that. So I, at least for me, am going to be using my fingers, and I recommend that as well. Of course, if you are doing professional makeup on someone else, you would not want to use your fingers, but if it's for yourself and your hands are clean, it's all good. I'm also going to be taking that liquid highlight and running it down my nose and my upper lip area on the Cupid's bow. I guess I was so into the zone on highlighting, I forgot to show the brush and the product I used up close. So I went ahead and used a brush from SL Miss Glam. It's such a beautiful brush. And I used a powder highlight from e.l.f. And I took a little bit of that and just went over the liquid highlight to kind of set that in place. So now we are moving on to eyelashes. I'm going to curl my top eyelashes and then I'm going to apply mascara. The mascara that I'm using is by CoverGirl and it is the orange tube. I always like to switch up my mascaras and try different ones out, but generally this is the one that I use the most and that I have consistently liked. I'm going to apply that mascara to my top and bottom eyelashes, and then we are moving on to lips. For the lips, I'm going to be using 2 liquid lipsticks. The first liquid lipstick that I'm going to be using is from Kylie Cosmetics in the color Dirty Peach. So I'm going to apply that first, and then once it has dried a little bit, not completely, I'm going to apply a second liquid lipstick. The second one is from Dose of Colors and it is in the color Sand. I'm going to mix the 2 colors together using my finger. I really love this lip combination. It's a really pretty light nude with a hint of peach undertones to it. I decided to add a few funny clips in for some bloopers. I really enjoyed creating this look and I really hope that you guys like it as well. If anyone recreates this look or is inspired by this look and you post it on Instagram, please tag me. That would be awesome. I would love to see it. My username on Instagram